I got this birth person blessing season, so you trust the government. What about the Tuskegee experiment? Okay, let me say this
Can I talk on that for a second? Can I talk on the Tuskegee?
Go ahead. Because I was going to go ahead and handle it, but go right ahead.
Because Tuskegee is brought up over and over again, but if people truly know the history of what Tuskegee actually was, Tuskegee experiment was carried out from 1932 to 1972, just 10 years before I was born. It was actually ended. And this Tuskegee experiment was actually the U.S. Public Health Service calling out to the Black community saying, we want people with quote unquote bad blood to come in and we're going to give you treatment for bad blood. But actually what they were looking for was people with syphilis. And the thing with Tuskegee was that they did not give them treatment. That was the problem with Tuskegee. They
Hold on. Let's slow that down. They were not injected with anything.
No.
What they did was monitor them. They didn't give them any. They didn't provide any medical care. There was no injection of Black people to the Tuskegee experiment. Go ahead.
Right. And that's the problem. We knew that the cure for syphilis in 1940 was penicillin. So for 30 years, they allowed this experiment to happen, knowing they had a medicine that could cure these people. And so with COVID, when we've been watching for this last year and a half, Black and brown people dying at higher rates, if the United States government said, we have this vaccine that could save your life, and they said, we're not going to give it to you, that would be Tuskegee Part 2. But what we have now, this whole idea of I don't want the vaccine because they may be trying to do something. Do you think I would go and tell my grandmother to do this? Do you think you would see that the most powerful people in our country were the very first ones running up on stage to try to get vaccinated because they realize this is the only thing that can keep them alive to see 2022. We've already lost 630,000 Americans at least, and that number is grossly underestimated because we weren't testing a lot of people early on in the pandemic because we didn't have tests. So when we're looking at that, it's again, whenever you're trying to come up with an argument, and I welcome healthy discussions, but make sure it's based in facts. And if you're going to bring up Tuskegee, just realize that Tuskegee was the holding back of medicine. It wasn't the giving of medicine. They knew we were sick and they said, I'm not going to treat you because I want to see what syphilis does to the brain, to the lungs. What does it do to someone if we don't give you medical care? Well, you don't have to have that anymore in America. You can get treatment, and that starts, especially in this pandemic, with, again, texting GetVax, GETVAX, your zip code, and you can find out where to get vaccinated.